I made a video, believe it or not, going over 50 things about Poppy Playtime that aren't the best. I thought of 50 more and here they are. Here's the obligatory I love Poppy Playtime. I love it, it's one of my favourite franchises, I have followed it since the start. I own all of the games, I've played all of the games, I am a deep fan of the franchise. So when I make a video like this going over things that aren't great, think of it as balance to stop me loving the franchise in every single video I make. Some characters appear out of nowhere and have a kind of retroactive importance, especially Chum Chompkins. Like nobody mentioned these characters before and then when they show up it turns out they were really important all along. Some deaths that aren't caused by jump scares, like at the start of chapter 3, are just a screen fading to black. No sound, no music or text or anything, the screen just goes dark. Lily Lovebraid's jump scare just isn't scary, like what is she doing? Giblet sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know why, their voice just never really sounded like it was in place for me. I've heard people say out of place, I've never heard people say in place before. No, he just sounded really happy and friendly despite the circumstances. Building up the Doctor with the most aura trailers and the most fantastic scenes and voice and characterization just for their boss fight to be a massive disappointment. I mean, you just turn him off. How are you going to make Boxy Boo the star of the Project Playtime cinematic trailer, make them their own star in their own game, and make them the worst character in that game? I love Boxy, but their range is the worst, they take multiple hits to destroy every player, which isn't always possible. I'm so disappointed, Boxy deserves better, oh my goodness. Poppy's eye colour is very inconsistent, it goes from like white to red to redder and then back to normal in chapter 5, a bit of an oversight maybe. Some of the puzzles in chapter 4 take way too long. When Poppy Playtime chapter 3 came out, the first thing that a lot of people noticed was how much bigger the game size was. But that bigger game size came with a lot of benefits. Chapter 3 looked fantastic. It looked like it was setting a new standard only for chapter 4 and 5 to look more or less the same as chapter 1 and 2. Or at least not on the same level as chapter 3, it set a standard graphics wise that we never truly returned to. The story around Catnap and why their body keeps changing from like thin to like regular to monster sized, sometimes they're monster sized and then they get really thin during the jump scare or the reverse of that. Just the disparity in Catnap's size, it isn't explained very well. A lot of the really awesome Poppy Playtime merch that I would love to get is US exclusive. Either that or sold out all the time. A lot of the story, especially in the early Poppy Playtime chapters, but perhaps more so now, is locked, it's time sensitive, behind ARGs that we can't do anymore. There must be full ARG videos and things that you can go back and watch now, but that's relying on other channels compiling all of this information. The Project Playtime spin-off game has not had an update in literally 2 years or more than that. It's fine as it is, but it's weird how everything just kind of stopped regarding that game. The chapters all ending on cliffhangers sometimes feels like it happens at the wrong time. Play coins in Project Playtime are very expensive. I know that the prices might change sometimes, but at least in the last 2 years. It's a bit much, but it's worth it, because the skins look really cool, I've just got to put that out there. Even in the newest update, you can glitch your way through Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 in a few minutes. The train code in Chapter 2 never changes, so a lot of Chapter 2 is just optional or irrelevant. Teasing Bron the dinosaur, even from the very first trailer of Chapter 1, only to not include them in anything for 5 years, and then reduce them to like 1 or 2 scenes. It's weird. Like, yes, they were in that minigame from Chapter 2, but I don't know, maybe they were worth a bit more? Really cool characters like Yarnaby become hated because their challenges are glitchy or frustrating. That can be down to optimization issues or glitching or day 1 patches, it's not the character's fault. If you mention Yarnaby to pretty much anyone these days, they're gonna hate them because of something that isn't the character's fault. The selling of merchandise is pushed maybe a bit too much, especially in the apps. The original story of finding our missing crew members from like a decade ago has kind of been altered or pushed to the side. I mean, that's the entire reason we're there. There's no sense at all that any of the events in any of the games have had any effect on our character or had any impact on them at all, because our character is a non-verbal, Nothing. We don't know who we play as still, and that isn't a problem, it's a great mystery, but the fact that they don't react to pretty much anything, it's weird. We've been through so much, and that just isn't reflected in our character and the way they react to things at all. Even in Poppy Playtime Chapter 5, we're still introduced to a lot of new mechanics, or retrained on old ones. The smiling critters have far more importance than they're worth. They showed up in Chapter 3, they were a cool idea and they were built on in Chapter 4, but before long, they had plushes for every character big and small, they had their own dedicated mystery toy lines. I mean, Poppy's most iconic characters are in those early chapters, you could debate that. Huggy, Mummy Longlegs and everything. Then Chapter 3 rolls around and almost all of the merchandise, especially in the UK, is about smiling critters. Like, there are always Huggies, but even to this day, there are boxes of smiling critter plushes, smiling critter keychains, smiling critter everything. It feels like they took over the franchise and it kind of never recovered. Is that just me? Is that just a me thing though? If you missed the Toy Box Battle Passes in Project Playtime Phase 1 and 2, you can't get any of the Toy Box exclusive skins again. I missed the first few months of Project Playtime because I had to buy a laptop that could run the game. So I didn't get to grind the Battle Pass up to Lunchboxy. I love that skin. They're my favourite skin in the entire game. I have their loading screen saved and everything, but I'm never going to be able to play as them. And I was never able to because I missed the bloody Battle Pass. Some of the characters, especially in later chapters, I don't feel much of a connection to. Some changes that are made to the Poppy Playtime games are made way too late. Bug fixes that a lot of people are talking about, things that are necessary, cutscenes like the cool Yarnaby death in Chapter 4, they're just added too late. But you know, it's not fair to rush them. I think the pace that they're getting these games out now is fantastic. It's just that by leaving things too late, not as many people are going to be able to experience them. Like the cool Chapter 5 update we got, and like the stuff that added. Or like I said, the cool Yarnaby cinematic. I want as many people to experience that as possible. I hate people that say Killy Willy isn't a proper character. They are there in Project Playtime, they have their own figure now, maybe one day they'll appear in a mainline installment, I don't know. They have story behind them, they're not an OC. They're a real character, okay? Bubba Bubbafunt is a crap name. I don't mind the smiling critters, I think most of the names are great, but Bubba Bubbafunt, no. Nightmare critters weren't explained well. I would have at least expected nightmare critters to have been mentioned in Chapter 3 when smiling critters were being introduced and mentioned and built on. It just seemed like more characters where they could have been like just old, withered or evil or transformed or brainwashed smiling critters instead of just having like a new line of nightmare critters. I don't know, they were a bit superfluous and I don't think their involvement was given quite the time it needed in Chapter 4. Ollie being the prototype was the single most predictable mystery. I sometimes wonder why they bothered. How are you gonna leave Boxy Boo in spin-off Purgatory? Include Boxy Boo in a mainline game past a few seconds of the Hour of Joy VHS, please. How did Mr. Light remember who we were? You could argue that the final boss fight with Catnap comes out of nowhere, kind of. There was definitely, having replayed it myself recently, less of a build-up than I remember. Maybe that's just because I know what to expect now. Most of the collectibles across all of the games just kind of lead to nothing. And there aren't many of them. I think maybe Poppy needs achievements or like more rewards or more of an incentive to get them. If you missed some of the trophies in Chapter 2, oh well, just play it again. If they were so popular and such a financial success for Playtime Co., why didn't we hear about smiling critters in Chapter 1 and 2? Only now are we in areas like deep underground. Surely when we were on the ground or surface level of the Playtime Co., we would have maybe seen smiling critters somewhere, especially the game station. The Mr. Light VHS, during her entire sequence, it's almost like it was trying to be edgy. It comes off as really cool. I just, yeah. Catnap's shrine looks nothing like the actual prototype. You could argue now that the story has been dragging. Some of the jump scares are just too darn long. They're more like kill screens. I thought they were meant to scare us. I don't know, there is nothing wrong with transitioning to kill screens, they look cool. It's just if you think of like how long a jump scare is in FNAF 1, bam, it's over. Almost every chapter of Poppy Playtime is guilty of this. Even some of the coolest jump scares like Yarnaby and the prototype, they're very long in comparison. The wrong side Outimals. Just full stop. They appeared in chapter 5, like the smiling critters and the nightmare critters before them, Giblet, Bleeding Chum Chompkins and everything, hadn't been mentioned at all, just of very little importance. What are they? Why are they? Doesn't really matter. Why are Daddy Longlegs and Baby Longlegs? Why have we never seen them? What are they? Why do Dog Day and Babachops have bigger bodies? Why does Dog Day say he's the last of the smiling critters, when we see good smiling critters after that, and there are plenty of smiling critters around? The prototype's design did change behind the scenes, and you can only wonder, like, we're just left to wonder what it could have looked like. How has the factory not completely collapsed yet? All of these chasms and empty spaces under it. How is it still there? How haven't the military shut down Playtime Co? For areas that are supposed to be employees only, there are a lot of these mascot cardboard cutouts around. The whole mascot horror trope around children becoming villains, children being in this orphanage, children being subjected to awful things, it's becoming a bit overdone. Missing kids in Garten Ban Ban, missing kids in Five Nights at Freddy's, missing kids in Poppy, missing kids in this and that. Kids always get the short end of the stick. Poppy keeps teasing us about what happened to the missing crewmates. Do we know? No. Much like part 1, this list was actually quite difficult to make. Poppy Playtime has so much to be proud of. It went viral for a reason, and I mean it when I say that. It's one of my favourite franchises. What can I say? My videos speak for themselves. This is a great segue onto like subscribing. Look at my other Poppy Playtime videos. You'll see how much I love it. Subscribe if you would like to, and I would love it if you did. I'm Kirby's2Plays. Bye.